huh?
No, sir.
Good to know. Once Oscar knows, then we really know it's time to get really defensive.
We're live.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Murray, how's it going? Let's see. Everybody have a good weekend. Mark, any insider gossip you have to sneak our way?
Not at the moment.
Not
Just
yet.
reading a lot of headlines and was quite shocked over the weekend that what's going on. I had a feeling there was going to be something happening this weekend, so I did buy a few extra SPY puts and some GLD contracts.
Oh,
just,
cool. Well, good
in
job.
addition. And I was shocked at how much my account was up this morning.
Nice. How much are those emerging market puts up? I forgot to update that in our track record.
They're up.
Yeah, that was timely.
Yeah.
Karen. Got to hear from Karen.
I'm here.
Hey, Karen, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. I should have been down south already, but I couldn't get on an airplane this morning, so it'll be this afternoon. Maybe I can find out what's going on in Florida. But I read a Zero Hedge article, that Trump had no idea that they were bringing back these people into the United States, by the way, which is much more in line with his past thinking, because he used to have problems with the previous administration when they brought back the people from with the Ebola, and he made a lot of noise about that back then. So there's
I'm sure
I think there's some more heads to roll.
Yeah,
Rightly so.
I think he knows what's going. It's surprising he's willing to go in front of, like, what is that, 100,000 people in that stadium in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some. The news is not matching the numbers, that's for sure. Murray, you out there? You got your mic? Let's see some other shout outs. Jose, how's it going? Ed, James, Diane, Vlad, Sue, Samsung, SM992OA. Not sure who that is, but if you have a mic, say hi. Robert, Retree, Mike, Marnie Bixler, Kathy C. How's it going, Kathy? Hogan, Gary, DD, Broke Collins. People keep coming in, so welcome everybody. James and Jose, I noticed you unmuted your mic. If you want to say hello, we'd love to hear from you.
This is Jose. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say today, Jason.
Yeah, you joined the program at an exciting time, didn't you, Jose? I mean, you've been seeing all kinds of crazy stuff play out since you joined.
I did. This is really exciting for me.
Good.
Much more exciting than you promised. You said it would be boring.
Yeah, Dean said it was going to be boring. What's going on here? Kathy says, how did you pick 320? Oh, Kathy, it was a tough call today because that was expensive at $1.26. To have the same protection Friday, we only had to pay 35 cents.
It's a lot higher now.
Yeah. So buying insurance during the middle of a fire is more expensive. But I think the SPY is either going to tank down to who knows where, or it's going to fly higher. I don't see it staying put where it is. And that's due to how leveraged the stock market is. So they really have to, how come we don't sell a call? Yeah. So Didi, if we sell a call and the futures market, AKA the plunge protection team, gaps the SPY open $5, $10 higher, we're going to miss out on that huge run up, which is what I think the US government's going to do. Is they're going to try to keep this hush hush as long as they can. And a key thing to doing that is to keep the market stabilized. So in general, your average Joe retiree and 401k is all in on stocks. So that's all you hear Trump talk about is stocks. But professional money managers are all using the same strategy we use, which is half stocks, half bonds. maybe with a pinch of gold on top and a little emerging markets to spicing things up. So we're really using the professional money managers go-to strategy if you're following the full program. And so it's important they keep both markets in order. And bond markets having a heyday right now. Anytime there's panic around the world, we don't have to worry about the bond market. So right now, TLT is just super safe position and does its job remarkably well for our strategy. So now I see the government really freaking out about keeping the labor market strong and keeping the corporations healthy. So they need to try to keep the SPY above 325 between now and Wednesday. Otherwise, a whole lot of auto selling triggers are going to come off. And so if that's the case, we have our 320 put, so we're going to lose a little bit on the SPY, not a lot. But if I'm correct and they do everything they can in their power to keep markets stable as long as they can, then they're going to have to come in there, and they like to, people who are old school investors, they hate it when this happens. They absolutely hate it when they come in there and they just bid it open in the futures market. It makes the SPY gap dramatically higher. So they'll call that market manipulation, that they're not allowing there to be any pain or price discovery, things of that nature. So that's what I'm expecting to happen as long as they can get away with it. And until we actually have real supply chains breaking, that they're going to try to keep both of our markets healthy. So you have to just bite the bullet, buy that expensive put, and be greedy when others are fearful right now. And again, if you're following the full program, which many of you are, then you know how well a TLT is paying off for us right now. And so, yeah, if this was just a normal world where we didn't have Asia shutting down, where we didn't have a pandemic rolling out that's being covered up, we might play it differently. But right now, anybody with two eyeballs who can read can tell there's a significant cover up going on. And so we're playing that accordingly. And so essentially you don't want to be selling a call option if you think the government's going to jack up the SPY ETF 5-10 bucks easily this week to try to keep the world calm and from freaking out. And so anytime you get Buffett and Bill Gates on TV telling everybody not to worry, just go rewind to 2008. Those guys can't sell, period. Otherwise they would crash the whole market. And so, so yeah, that's where we're at. We're not in a crisis that was the result of US misallocation of capital like we were in the dot-com bubble or the 2008. And so it makes me want to play the market a little differently than you would have during the 2008 crisis. Now, with that said, I'm paying close attention to see, how do we resolve this crisis? We have to get those Asians back to work. There's no Americans who want to get paid $3 an hour to assemble phones, and there's no robot who can build an iPhone right now. So until China, South Korea, and Japan are back to work, the info space is at risk, and that's why we got to pay for that downside protection. But also we have to play the U.S. news flow. Right now, we don't have Trump ringing the alarm bell, telling everybody to freak out. You're not hearing anything, Dan? Ryan and Dean, do you guys hear the audio fine?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
perfect, Jason.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Dan, might be a speaker issue. If you go to the right-hand corner, look for that little speaker box, right-click it, and you should be able to get the audio going. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the trade alert here, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to interrupt. But yeah, this is your classic Buffett line: be greedy when others are fearful. And at the same time, we have to play the news that our administration is delivering, which remains Trump's clearly saying President Xi has this completely under control and there's nothing to worry about. So I don't think that's the case, obviously. But I do have a good idea of what the government will do to keep things calm. And that's going to be to bid up the stock market and to try to prevent a panic. So we'll take a close look at that soon as we go through the trade alert. This is interesting and seems to be new from Steve. Not sure what that's related to. Looking at other questions. We had some other trade ideas thrown at us this morning. Retree says my put is good till Wednesday. So you bought a different expiration date. That comes in handy for you. So you could actually sit on that put. Although it might be a better time to take a profit, but yeah, you are protected through Wednesday. So you might save a little on that. Hogan says he's doing good, but down 467. Yeah, that was the maximum loss built into that trade. So the put option saved us about 50% of the drawdown today, not 100%. But it could be worse right now, but we would still have that same maximum loss relative to our total investment. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the trade. So same trade setup, but the protection's gone up something like 400% in cost. On Friday, we could buy about the same distance from the trading price to the strike for 36 cents as we're paying for $1.20 today. And the good news is the market's likely to rebound dramatically higher via the futures market. Otherwise, absolute chaos is going to set into the markets. And so a lot of these trading systems out there, they're not reacting to trend lines and death crosses and moving averages crossing, which is what your kind of your old school Chuck Hughes classroom options trading book teaches you how to predict up or down. They're more reacting to acceleration in price change, which you can gauge from looking at the VIX. So if the VIX remains elevated for too long, that's what causes a lot of these automated systems to sell off. So from our perspective, I don't mind taking the risk at this point. We're not seeing the US release a bunch of case counts. In fact, from what I can tell, there's a lot of gag orders that are not allowing that news flow to come out. So I don't think we're going to see the US absolutely freak out yet. And I don't think that our supply chains are completely disrupted yet. Also, we're also seeing at least some news flow that China is trying to get people back to work, which is going to be critical. We need to see Foxconn get back to work and start assembling phones very quickly. Otherwise, the US's national champion, Apple, is in some pretty big heat right now. I'm having issues with TD Ameritrade. What issues are you having, Steve? It's really the best out there from our perspective in terms of customer support, cost, software. The screenshots in this trade alert are going to also be from the Thinkorswim app. Okay, here's a breakdown of the returns. We entered the trade at 334. And here's one of those days you're glad you have your put. We would have been down $9.90 per share. But our put option delivered a credit of $5.79 today for a 1,500% return. So that offset the cost by about half, only losing $4.47. And so once again, my expectation is government doesn't want to panic right now. Their news flow is not designed to create a panic. They're trying to tell everybody everything's fine and dandy, don't worry about it. So they need the stock market to really line up with that dialogue. Otherwise, people get smart here and start selling. Here's our SPY return. We're down 0.2% so far in February, but I think that could jump back into the green by Wednesday. Again, if we're correct and the market's bid up higher. And again, if it's not bid up higher, we're going to be looking at a vicious sell-off this week. So really they need to get into action right now. So sometimes they're doing it during market operations. Sometimes they're doing it in the futures market overnight, where there's a lot less people who would sell into trying to bid it up. Now, if you're following our full program, we are doing really well from our gold and bond position, which represents half our portfolio. And I actually haven't updated the put options we bought on emerging markets, which were well timed and are up significantly. So we're actually up a bit more than 1.5%. And that's, again, if you also do the Thursday play. If you're on a free trial just following the program, we found it's a little confusing to new people to jump in and have to do a stock and bond portfolio. So most of our new trials just start off with the SPY, get a feel for what we have to offer clients, and then almost everyone upgrades to the Thursday play once they realize how important it is to have that stock bond ratio. Here's a snapshot from Thinkorswim, how to put on today's trade if you're just starting from scratch. So this includes the put option and the 100 shares of SPY. So you have one put per 100 shares of SPY. All the put does is guarantees you a certain price per share no matter what happens. So let's say all of a sudden US says, well, we've been keeping this hush hush. There's actually 1,000 cases of coronavirus here in the US, just between California and Florida. And the market freaks out. All of a sudden, Foxconn's not delivering iPhones to Apple. All sorts of things could go wrong between now and Wednesday. The SPY could easily sell off substantially more than 320. And you wouldn't worry because you own the put, you get 320 a share no matter what. Now, on the offset that this all blows over and the market just rallies sky high, well, we just have to pay off that $1.24 insurance, and then we're into the green. So we really want to see the SPY jump up by more than $1.24 between now and Wednesday. And quite frankly, if the powers that be don't boost the SPY by at least $3 to $5, I think this thing's going to crash all on its own. So I'd be somewhat shocked if our banking system doesn't try its best to get the SPY above 330 by the end of this week, just to keep people from not panicking. Scrolling down next, we get to see a screenshot of the put that we sold today. That marks a proof of our returns for anyone just coming in. It's always nice to have every single trade screenshotted. So we were able to flip that 36-cent put for $5.79 today. Now, that, again, that offset the losses by about half, but we could have been significantly lower today and we would have still had the same maximum risk. And right now, our maximum loss on today's trade will be no more than $564. And that's based on an investment of $32,564 when you combine the put and the cost of buying 100 shares of SPY. So a little more risk from Friday through today, same trade, same bet. And until I see the news flow from US turning negative about the coronavirus and or supply chains actually breaking down, I'll continue to place the same bet. Now, one thing is I did want to see emerging markets break down a weaker market before I had become bearish on the SPY. And so we're starting to see that. And again, if you have China, South Korea, and Japan locked down, which is where we're headed with South Korea and Japan, well, that's where you manufacture 90% of all electronics. So that's not good and clearly will affect US markets. Here's our new put. So you can see the entry price. And again, we picked that 320 strike for $1.25. Now that same distance on Friday only cost 36 cents. So if you're in the boot camp and you've watched all the options videos we put out so far, here's a great example, just visualizing how much more expensive options become as the volatility index spikes or as the change of price accelerates. And so again, if they can't get that volatility to drop in the next 24 hours, I would expect a much more vicious sell-off than we just saw this morning, which again, we're okay with because we have the put, number one, and the number two, if you're following our full program, you're sitting pretty on that TLT, which makes your life quite easy. And so on Thursday, we'll be discussing whether or not we want to start buying any puts to protect our TLT. In the buy and hold portfolio, no changes yet. So we're still 1 share of SPY, 2 shares of the TLT, 2 shares of GDX, 1 share of Yang, and then $44 in cash per 750 invested, or otherwise 40% equities, 40% the long end of the US Treasury, 10% in gold. And again, we're doing gold miners. Another thing, spot gold likely will keep rocketing first, and then GDX will play catch up. And to see gold going parabolic right now is a good warning sign that things are not healthy in the world markets right now. Okay, so that's a review of our trade alert. Pull up some of the headlines I've saved from the news flow. So China is trying to claim that they have 2,500 deaths approximately. That's rounding up so far in 2020 from the coronavirus. And that's reasonable cause to build 2 hospitals so far in Wuhan and to shut down the second largest economy in the world for about 3 weeks now. Meanwhile, in the US, we've had 12,000 deaths from the flu, and there's no panic. There's no hospitals being built, and there's no shutdowns. So I think it's complete, utter BS. They also announced they're going to rush to build 19 new hospitals in Wuhan now. So my best guess is that the real death count in China is more like 250,000 people and not 2,500 people. That's what would really make sense. So what's really going on, I do believe, is being severely hidden. And now we're seeing this start to grow exponentially in South Korea, Italy, and Iran, and also in Japan.
Jason, I wonder if now that the statistics are maybe getting a little bit better on, I saw some articles, I didn't take notes or write the numbers down, but they talked about how many people are getting sick versus how many go to the hospital. And so, and it's like maybe 20% or something like that go to the hospital or something like that. And I wonder if you can infer the number of beds they're building, knowing the number that actually need hospital, in hospital care, and then work that backwards to see what the real true infected cases are there.
Yeah, something like that. So if we figure for every 1 person they will actually admit to, that there's perhaps 100 that they haven't found, that's how you can multiply the data. Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. You don't shut down China. You have some of the greediest people in the world controlling China. The last thing they want to do is stop printing money with all these, with Foxconn and all these big companies. And so, yeah, they have 5 times the population, but yet they're reporting 1/6 the deaths that we've had just from the flu. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that we're being dramatically lied to about this. Let me try to find.
And even the WHO is starting to say that, hey, there are likely a lot of cases where people have the coronavirus, but their symptoms are so mild, they don't realize they have it. And they just think they've got a little bit of a cold or mild, whatever. And they're actually spreading the virus unknowingly, and they're being carriers. And that's probably one of the biggest ways this is getting spread. where they
That
haven't
head
been
of
able to
that-
put
of
it
that-
together.
That gentleman, that whatever his name is, who's the head of the WTO,
Tedros.
shame on him.
Oh God, he's such a, yeah, what a crook. I've been, listening to it every day. It's just such a joke.
Yeah, that guy should be strung up right from the very beginning. He's been in the China camp all along. Well, who's paying his salary? That's what I want to know.
Exactly. How much money did he just get to say what he's been saying?
I
right?
mean, really, I
Ryan,
can't.
could you
Right,
send
I'm
me
off.
Ryan, could you send me that John Hopkins link? I'll show you guys the easiest way to judge whether it's slowing down or speeding up in a second. Okay, so they're kicking out all the journalists from China, including 2 Wall Street Journal reporters. Now China's warning not to travel to the US. I mean, give me a break. Okay, so we got the case count growing rapidly. This chart's, you can just see how fast it's growing. Even with the reported data, it's just absolutely insane.
Should have been sitting on some Zoom calls. Everyone's doing.
Oh yeah, from the WHO, huh?
Yeah. Well, think about it. Everyone's going to be doing working from home. And
Oh man. Okay, so here's what I like to look at now is go to this URL here, John Hopkins data, click on the big screen. Okay, switch to logarithmic and then remove total recovered and mainland China. So as long as the logarithmic scale is pointed up, it's growing exponentially. And it doesn't really matter how fast it's moving up. As long as this is going up, then it's growing exponentially. And so I like to remove China because clearly you don't shut down a $1 trillion economy for, 2,500. What is that? That's like 50 deaths a day. I mean, in the US, we have 7,500 deaths a day. So it just clear as day, we're being lied to. And I expect that the US has a lot of cases that are not being released. The Florida attorney, I'll pull up that. I have this in our feed. We'll get to it in a minute. Now, Mark Rubio, I think we're going to see a huge outbreak in Florida is my expectation, as well as California, the US. And I think that's going to be the turning point for the US markets. Either that or Bernie's scaring the market. I'm just kidding. I don't think Bernie's scaring the markets at this point.
I think they'll use any excuse they want right now, including Bernie.
Yeah.
And you never know. There's a lot of, you guys are the unusual young people that understand what's the difference between socialism and communism, whatever, and capitalism. They
Right.
don't. I hear some people I used to work with, and they're my age. I can't even have a conversation with them. There's a lot of there's a lot of broken people out there who really don't understand these things. So I wouldn't put anything past anything right now, guys.
Yeah. Also, when you see Bloomberg starting to get negative, that's always because Bloomberg is probably the most highly connected person in the world to the financial system. Not only is he one of the most liquid, rich investors in the world, his Bloomberg terminals really, they touch just about every professional money manager on the planet.
Right, but he has no interest anywhere else in the world to be.
And he wants to protect China because that's where a lot of his clientele is. So to see him getting negative about this is definitely questionable as well.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about Bloomberg. I was reading an article and I didn't realize how much Bloomberg was vested in China and how much they are censoring any negative China information.
Yeah.
And there was a shocking article about a lady who basically was threatened by Bloomberg lawyers until she got Snowden's lawyer, and then they backed off.
Mm-hmm.
And that just really gave an insight of just how under the covers deeply connected Bloomberg is. So when I read Bloomberg now, I take it with a grain of salt. So if they're getting negative about China, then that means they have to admit it. It's so bad.
Yeah, and you know, if he's trying to get the presidency here,
Frightening.
what better way to cause some economic harm for Trump ahead of the election than a major stock crash? So that's definitely something that has my eyebrows raised. Now, meanwhile, China's trying to play off that, hey, they have this contained, their draconian measures are working, and they're going to get back to work. And so they're starting to lower the response levels from the highest level to lower levels. So if we can see China get back to work and Foxconn's back to full operation and they do it at the cost of human lives, you know, we have to be open to that as a possibility here. So we are seeing some data showing that China is attempting to get back to work. There's also a Zero Hedge article saying the Chinese are refusing to go back to work. And so to make life simple, Foxconn, okay, Foxconn is owned and controlled by one of the top communist leaders. And the last thing they want to do is not make money. So again, if we see Foxconn get back to full operation in the near future, that'll be critical for Apple and for the SPY. So if we go another month without Foxconn getting back to work, I'll start to get a little more paranoid about our married put on the SPY. But at this point, the news flow is once again, US is, and look at this, you know, China's companies are limit up. What? It doesn't make any sense at all.
So I wonder
Uh-oh.
if at a certain point, they're just going to say, we can't control the virus. All we're going to do is say that if you have symptoms, you get turned away, but they're not going to quarantine a plant just because someone tests positive. They're just going to send those with symptoms away. And when you get better, you come back and get back to work. Meanwhile, we know a certain amount of employees are just going to fall off sick and most will return after they recover.
Yeah.
And they just go with it.
Yeah, China has to get back to work, bottom line. If they don't get back to work, the whole global system goes down. So we'll just have to keep a close eye on it. They continue to push the delays so far. This is interesting chart about who's prepared to deal with the pandemic and has US at the top. So for those who think we're just fear mongering, I do try to put out as much information with both cases. And as you can see, I'm still long the SPY, even though we have that put.
Jason, so you mentioned a couple minutes ago that you were expecting a bounce. So you're expecting some manipulation here on the futures market. Is that what you said? I couldn't
think
follow that.
Yeah, I think that we'll see the banks in the US try to get the SPY dramatically higher to keep people calm.
And you're expecting this to happen this week?
Within the next 24 hours. In fact, if they don't, we'll see a crashing. The volatility is spiked. If that volatility remains elevated, every money manager, every automated trading system is going to start dumping stocks until that volatility goes lower. So yeah, I expect that they're not going to allow that to happen.
Isn't
And
that a
what-
lot of the algos that kick in and then and then everything starts just selling before they can even catch it? And we wind up having one of these flash crash.
Yeah,
event?
sure. So, you know, anybody who's read any book about trading is used to, oh, you know, when the 50 and 200 moving day averages cross, that's a great signal, or if you go to shorter time frames or longer time frames. But that's really outdated. Now the way most of these systems are working are more on related to the VIX or to the change of price. So if that VIX remains elevated for a significant time, that creates massive selling. And so we're already really past the line in the sand that it needs to go above 325 by tomorrow's open. Otherwise, it's going to cost them a lot more money to keep the financial system really rolling here. And you got to realize the super rich can never sell. They might be able to sell a little bit, but they can never sell their full position. So the last thing the super rich want is a massive crisis, because all their wealth is held in stocks. Okay, so what else is going on? Yeah, the most alarming thing to me was, if you're a silver fan, Oscar, maybe there's demand for silver for disinfecting this damn virus. That's what apparently they're spraying everywhere. So maybe there's a little bull case for being long. Right now, gold's still leading the way. South Korea has closed all schools nationwide. Central banks holding an emergency meeting. Mark Spiegel's hilarious. This poor guy got destroyed on Tesla. If he'd only been patient, but joking that their only options are to print money. Gunlack has been just ripping on Bloomberg. And how many people show up at Bloomberg rallies? How many of his interviews are compelling? None, of course, since there aren't any. Really bad sign when you're afraid to display a product because it isn't any good. So these guys are both in that upper echelon of uber rich. Although I think the net worth of Bloomberg is about 25 times. I think Gunlack's worth about $2 billion. I'd have to check. Jeff Gunlack, what has Bloomberg done? Bomb in the debate and then place big billboards in Trump rally cities pointing out that Bloomberg, prefers steaks medium rare while Trump likes his burnt. We're starting. Okay, for those of you in the boot camp, I want to short their currency, as you know. A lot of you were wondering about the Forex markets. Here's the problem with doing the trade in the Forex markets. The future market's something like the stock market, where it's one market and it's all connected no matter where you're trading it. The Forex market's not the same. The Forex market's a whole bunch of localized markets where people are trying to, they'll literally go trade between one Forex market here and another Forex market over there. So they're not connected as a single system. So it does create the opportunity for manipulation, for brokers to screw over clients. So I'm gonna go ahead and not recommend to trade such an exotic pair as CNH at forex.com or Rwanda. I'd really prefer that all of our clients do that from the futures market, which is highly regulated and it's a single market. Okay, so I'm not gonna recommend that after some more due diligence on that. You might be okay, but why take that risk? So the futures market will be a much safer place to trade an exotic market like shorting the Chinese currency. So we want to see some panic and some economic trouble for China. Check mark for that trade. But also we want it to be advantageous for China to allow their currency to devalue. The key to that is a argument or a dispute on Huawei, which would lead to tariffs. And so we're starting to see that timing now. So I'm waiting for timing. We haven't seen their currency breakdown yet. But if they just let the currency break down, then I think we'll get the tariff threat. And then we have a advantageous move for China to devalue. So that's what I'm really looking for at this point. And I think that's going to be coming soon and be very, very lucrative for you boot campers. So we got the stock market to crack. That's good. Now let's see the geopolitical tension go from highly encouraging. We literally have Trump saying President Xi is great. He's got this under control. Don't worry. I want to see that dialogue start to go back to China's the enemy of the US sort of rhetoric, which we just don't have yet. This was normally 160,000. These things are packed. But you can see China is not convinced they have this virus under control. This is normally 160,000 people meeting at this of the Communist Party. And what is there? Maybe 100? Kathy, I see your hands raised. Any questions?
Remind me again, we need interactive brokers in order
Yes.
to do that. We can't, E-Trade doesn't have the futures we need.
No. Yeah, you have to have interactive brokers for shorting China's currency safely without
All right.
having, if you want to play around in so I had a friend back in the day who was probably the top broker for Forex companies for the better part of a couple decades. So he referred more clients to Forex dealers than just about anybody under the sun. And so we could go through his books and look at how well those people did. And something like 99% of his clients had lost money, which is truly alarming. And then once you realize the Forex dealers are literally trying to look at where you might have a stop loss, they're trying to get their clients to lose money and take the other part of the trade. And it's not one Forex market. They're all localized. So that's really a key risk. If you're trading like, euro dollar pair, well, super liquid, but you're trading CNH, highly unliquid. So that's why I'd much rather play the futures market for that exotic trade than trying to use Forex. Now the Hong Kong dollar is available at TD Ameritrade. So I'm going to be recommending you do that from TD Ameritrade or Interactive Brokers. But the Yuan trade, futures market, Hong Kong exchange, Interactive Brokers. And that way we're all on the same page. Don't need to worry about your broker dealer trying to knock you out of your position.
Thanks.
Yep. So China's, GDP and PMI are still right at 47 even, which is total BS. The whole country's on lockdown. They've got meat rotting. It's a complete mess. The supply chains for China, I think we're going to start seeing people starving in China, which is really sad.
I read an article about in Australia, they've got lobsters just sitting on the docks waiting to go to China, and they can't get them there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer those lobsters are going to live in those tanks.
Yeah. 1,000 of the police they sent into Wuhan are now infected. A third of all medical staff that's tried to treat it are infected. So we really don't know what on earth this is. It appears to be much worse than anyone can imagine. But yeah, now South Korea is on the verge of locking down everything. So yeah, we'll just have to see, who's willing to shut down their economy to save lives. So far, no country's been willing to do that preemptively. They're all doing it after it's created hysteria first.
I think we'll get the real picture of this from South Korea and Italy, because obviously they're far more transparent than China. And, and then we've already gotten a good picture of it from the Diamond Princess too.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're really going to see the true impact and the true expansion of this.
I'm probably not going to play it in our boot camp, but I do like shorting Carnival Cruises just as a bonus trade at your own risk. I think that they may be liable for having held all those people.
I knew you were thinking that.
Yeah, and it's only down 3% this morning, so it's still not a terrible trade. I'm going to stick to really big markets for our program. So probably in the next few weeks, maybe a VIX call option would be in line on top of shorting Chinese currency. But yeah, I think that they may be. Hey, Oscar.
It's down 8%.
It's down at, yeah, we should have done it. Yeah, but I think that could crash 50%. I mean, even if they're not liable for having, I'm going to guess at least 10 to 20 more deaths come off of that cruise ship versus 2 we have right now. Imagine all the lawsuits, whether it's the Japanese government that's at fault. But regardless, who on earth is going to get on a cruise ship anytime soon? But yeah, so at least we had the emerging market play. Anybody know how much we're up on that trade right now? I didn't check it this morning.
My emerging market cost me 88 cents and it's at $1.73 right now.
Oh, okay, it's up.
Yeah.
Not
I got
Yeah.
in at 86.
Okay,
Yeah, I
good.
got the 8 too, so.
So here's a look at Beijing right now. Ghost City. So yeah, sneak peek at the FOMC minutes. This guy's a character. He's been freaking out about this for quite some time. He's got a good podcast if you want to listen to it. Oh. Okay, so that's the bottom line. We're betting up on the SPY. We have downside protection. If the banks do not recover the SPY above 325 and keep it well above that, you expect more selling. If you're new to the program and you're just trading the SPY, then we're taking the risk of the downside of the best ETF in the world, and at least the safest equity market that we can find right now. And if you do look at our pro program, all we're going to do is put half your money into bonds and gold. The normal effect of that is actually to have slower returns in a bull market, but obviously much better returns in a flat or down market. So that's really a good summary of where we're at. We'd love to hear some questions. Here's a look at our returns on the two programs. So you can see them side by side. And again, I did not put that emerging market put option in there yet.
Okay, so this is Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
So I bought my SPY and I kept waiting for TLT and to come back down and GDX. Of course, it hasn't. I hate to jump in now with it being so high.
Oh, no.
I'm cheap. I like things at a discount.
So you got to realize TLT is not a company that's creating profits. TLT is an interest rate play. So we're not trying to buy Apple at a discount when we buy the TLT. So the TLT is going to, if the TLT crashes, then what's happening? Then the US government's not getting funded. So that's what you got to realize. You don't hear Trump talk about protecting the TLT. He's much more interested in the S&P 500 because that's what your average Joe retiree owns. But yeah, if you wanted to maybe play it safe, Kathy, I would recommend buying a put option for cheap, maybe like a 1 month put. Because yeah, I could see a little, my expectation is that the banks are going to come in here and rescue the stock market. So that should make TLT come down a little bit. But if they don't, or they can't, then TLT is going way higher. I don't think TLT is going to stop its ascent until we get towards 175. And at the same time, the Fed's cranking rates lower. So yeah, if you wanted to have the protection of the TLT, well, the good news is the volatility on the MOVE index is much lower than it was not too long ago, which is it's like the VIX for the TLT. So you could buy downside protection on the TLT for cheap and then get that core position on the bond market.
Part of it was because I have a TLT credit spread that I've been doing for a long time in my accounts. So I've been earning some money on it every week.
Well, that's
Oh.
good.
It was just going ahead and buying the whole, not doing the options, but instead doing the real thing. I was just kind of waiting it out. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I think TLT is going to just climb higher slowly but surely until the Fed gets rates to zero. And then we got to figure out what happens after that. It's kind of the big picture. So it really plays beautifully with the SPY until those federal fund rates get lower. And then we're out of ammunition to really keep propping the bubble up. Unless the US is going to go into negative interest rates, which they might. If the rest of the world goes into deep negative rates, then our relative rate could maybe, that's like blasphemy if you talk to them about it right now, but they've been changing their tune pretty rapidly. I mean, does anybody remember when rates were on autopilot and quantitative tightening was going to be like watching paint dry?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago. They were telling us that.
Smash.
So yeah, we basically have a very humble outlook right now. We're keeping long the SPY, assuming that's a riskier asset than the TLT. But realize SPY relies on companies generating profits. The TLT really relies on the Fed controlling interest rates. So they can just keep lowering those interest rates to zero, no problem, and almost certainly will, to offset the effects of China's economy being shut down. So until China's back to work, I'm not worried about the TLT at all. But again, if you don't want a lot of volatility, your put options are super cheap right now on the TLT. So you could buy the TLT today, get a cheap put, and then kind of sit back. And if there's chaos in the near future, TLT is going to go up much more than your put. And if things kind of relax for a few weeks, then SPY should rebound significantly. And you won't be losing on the TLT because you own the put. Now, for our folks who took the emergency alert, we're up huge. What are we up on the TLT now? Let me just look on my phone.
Emergency alert?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, we switched from shorting the TLT.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking, did I miss something on Friday?
So we're up like what? I think we're up about $7, just under $7 a share on the TLT since we changed our outlook.
Yes.
But yeah, you got to realize TLT is not it's not Apple. It's not selling iPhones. It's an interest rate. And that is the blunt tool the Fed uses to try to, they're going to try to cure the coronavirus by cutting interest rates and printing money. But the only cure is to get these Asians back to work, building the iPhone. That's really the only cure to the current problem. $33 live. Well, thanks, guys.
How far out would you buy a put on TLT? A month?
So here's the catch. If you buy that put for a month right now, and the TLT just keeps climbing, it's not going to provide much protection for you. So I'd probably be more inclined to buy a 1 week put if I was really worried about it, which I'm not. But if I were really worried about it, just by looking at the chart, I could feel the anxiety a lot of you might have buying the TLT. Well, I'd probably only buy a week out in advance, because if the TLT goes dramatically higher, you might be throwing your money away here. And ask yourself, what's the chances China's back to work, South Korea's back to work, and Japan's back to work by next Monday? If you think they're back to work by next Monday, you better buy a put on the TLT. But then ask yourself, why did China say they're going to build 19 hospitals in Wuhan this weekend for 2,500 deaths? 12,000 in the US from the flu, 7,500 deaths in the US per day. So the numbers don't add up. Not by a long shot.
Jason, I think I read somewhere where now the chances of a rate cut in June is up to like 100% now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the dollar index. So our export business is going to be completely disrupted as the dollar index keeps climbing. So just from that standpoint, I could see them cutting rates. But yeah, you got China Well, until China's back to work, predicting the bond market's pretty easy right now. Predicting the stock market's a lot more difficult because in a normal world, stocks should be selling off, but we're not in a normal world. We're in one which we've basically given the banks the keys to print money as they feel fit and do whatever they like with it. And so that's why I think they're going to try to keep the world calm as long as they can. And to do so, they have to gap the SPY higher within the next 24 hours.
Jason, it's Mark.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing great.
Thank you. In regards to what you just said, how do they accomplish that?
How they what they tend to do is they like to use the futures market overnight and they bid it higher. So they bid it dramatically higher. So it just opens much higher one morning.
Okay.
So I'd expect, and we saw that. You guys remember when I first got, when we were first seeing this coronavirus breakout, and then we had Apple's earning that week, and that covered call just totally destroyed our profit. They gapped it up in like $8 higher one morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect they'll continue to do that as long as they can. And until Apple's telling us, oh shoot, we can't make phones, can't sell any phones because there's no one to build them. And until we see the coronavirus really spreading in the US, I think they can get away with gapping it higher. So our goal will be to lock in those profits with a put. So yeah, it makes for some easy trading, despite how crazy this all sounds. We got the TLT if things go haywire, and we have our put option. But if things don't go haywire this second, there's very little risk TLT has much of a drawdown. And the upside is that, again, they could spike that SPY $5-10 this week, easy, just to keep things from panicking. So we really just need the SPY to go up $1.25 between now and Wednesday to be in the green on the SPY trade. And I think they may significantly overshoot that, again, to make things seem like it's perfectly fine. All right, guys. Any last questions out there?
Hey, Jason, it's Mark again. I have another question.
Please.
You mentioned, I think, the quote of somebody, you just repeated it, but I mean, I know it was true, but half-hearted, that cash is trash.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks ago or last week. If you don't have enough free cash to buy 100 shares of the SPY with a put to protect it right now, would you buy more TLT?
I would follow our buy and hold strategy if I didn't have enough. So really, to follow the full system, you need about 75K to use our whole strategy A to Z. But if you have less than that, then this works out really well right now. And now again, the catch is this SPY TLT relationship only works until the Fed drops rates to 0, assuming they won't go below 0. So the basic thought process is, if the economy's having trouble, the Fed's going to make the cost of money cheaper. They do that by lowering rates. If they lower rates, that makes the TLT go higher. And so that's what I expect they will do, is that China's slowdown will cause the US to cut interest rates. So it allows you to just blindly own the SPY and TLT together and have a very beautiful return. And you can see that right here in our buy and hold return.
Yeah, no, let me try the question again. I'm sure I didn't ask it very well, if I may. If you're already following the full program and you have some extra cash, but not enough for a whole block of 100 in order to buy the put on the SPY,
Gotcha.
would you change that 40-40 ratio and buy more TLT?
Gotcha. Good question. So you're following the full program right now, and you just have, how much extra cash do you have laying around?
About 25.
25. Oh yeah, that's tough because you don't have enough to layer on top the whole strategy, huh?
Right.
I might just use that 25K to follow this right here, and then I guess you could pick up. See, we don't have any protection on the TLT below. Yeah, I might just follow the buy and hold with that 20K.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're gonna, we just hit a huge win on the TLT. So now if you went overweight that, most likely right now we're gonna see a nice win on the SPY this week. People love to buy what just made the big profit, and then the other asset goes up, and that's just the nature of humans, I guess. What I always try to push is to keep a balanced portfolio and be a little more humble, that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if we put our risk in the right allocations and have a little humility and some patience, you can see the results, they work. So I would take that and follow this program right here.
Okay.
As it doesn't need put options to do very well.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jason, I have a comment on that. What I've been doing, and this is me and my personality, I'm a little bit more willing to take a bit of a risk. Is I've been taking that extra amount of cash and then following the boot camp trades with that. And then maybe when you're saying, hey, let's go naked on, or let's just go straight up puts on EEM. Well, I'm going to buy a few extra just to go along with that. Or you're saying, hey, really thinking we need some heavy.
You did well with HSBC too, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah, sure did. And when you're saying, hey, let's get some SPY puts and maybe I might buy a few extra SPY puts just as a little bit of extra insurance when I know the news doesn't match the market movement. Having a little bit extra insurance to me is adding a little cost, but today it really paid off.
Yeah. How many extra puts did you buy versus the recommended dose?
I bought twice.
Nice. So that totally offset the SPY pullback then.
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
Well, look at you, Mark, outperforming the service. Good job.
Yeah, because of what you've been teaching me and what I've been following and learning mostly from you, I've definitely made a bunch of money today. So
well,
more than enough to pay for the service for several years to come.
Oh, that's really good to hear, Mark.
Mark,
Love it, Mark.
Mark, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Congratulations too. Great job.
Yeah, thanks. But that's me, and I'm willing to take a little more risk than maybe some other people are. So, do what's best for you.
And you've got a lot of experience too, so.
Yeah, I've been trading for a while.
Yeah, Mark doesn't miss a dot, man. So good job. Hey, that's awesome to hear. We really appreciate that you're doing well with it.
Jason, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I put together another 75K, and since I put it together, there hasn't been any TLT trades. So all I have is the SPY. So I wondered, is that something that is coming up, or is that something you just have to wait to?
Oh, great question, William. So that's one of the reasons why I've decided to really lock down our number one, which ETFs we trade, and number two, what the allocation is, so that people have less confusion. So yeah, at all times, this program will never change this. It's always going to be a 2-to-1 ratio of the TLT to the SPY. And so I adjust our risk with the options. So yeah, you're kind of in the same camp as Kathy now, is that TLT just flew up. It's still a good buy. Could it have some drawdown in the near future? Sure. So you may want to just pick up your TLTs and buy a put option on a week, for at least 1 week, for some short-term protection on that.
Well, I don't own any yet. In other words, this 75K is the second group that I have. And since I opened it up to trade, you haven't done a TLT trade.
Okay. Yeah, I understand your confusion. So
I don't have.
my mistake in communicating properly, but yeah, you should always have 200 shares of TLT per 100 shares of SPY. And so that's what I've been trying to illustrate with the Thursday trade alerts, is to maintain that, hey, we're still long the TLT with right.
So you would suggest I go ahead and buy the 200 shares now, or wait till Thursday?
Yeah, let's wait till Thursday to add on to that, because I'll have a full analysis for you.
Okay, because I don't own GDX yet either.
So we're doing our alert every Thursday, but just to reiterate, last Thursday the alert was to remain long those two positions at a 2-to-1 ratio. So
I see.
we have had alerts, but I think it just didn't, because there's no options on them right now. It looked different to you, so I could totally understand why you thought you shouldn't have done anything, maybe.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yep. Hey, well, great. I'm glad you asked the question so we could clear that up.
Okay.
And we're in this for the long run. So, you missed a bounce on TLT this week. It's not a big deal. We're going to be doing this for forever. So yeah, I would just wait till Thursday to play it safe. Or if you want to jump in like Kathy's considering, then buy that cheap put option right underneath it. But perhaps Thursday is the best bet.
Okay.
I think this week SPY is going to treat us well. And Thursday would be a good entry point to see if I've made any adjustments to that position. But yeah, right now I'm so confident in the TLT and GDX that we've traded it without any put options.
Okay. And have EEM also wait till tomorrow?
So that was the big change, is to make everyone's life easier. We're trading EEM on Thursday.
So
everything's on Thursday. Yeah. So you get Tuesday off now.
Okay. So all three are going to be on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So yeah, I would just wait, because we really, our Thursday trade, all three of those positions are up significantly. So I would expect maybe a little bit of a pullback on the gains in those, as the market has to recover the SPY. If the market does not recover the SPY in the next 24 hours, then those TLT, GDX, and EEM trades are going to go up even more. But that's going to come at the cost of the S&P 500 going down. So I don't think they're ready to let the S&P 500 sell off at this point. I think from their calculation, they can bid it up in the futures market and delay. The big hope is that China, South Korea, and Japan get their companies back to work. It's just that simple. Nobody wants to lose out on money. So I don't think there's some demonic force that wants to crash U.S. economy. But I think they are they need their partner in their business model is China, South Korea, Taiwan, and primarily those three countries. So if they don't get back to work, that screws up our whole production line for a lot of U.S. tech. 25% of China's exports are in the tech sector, and that's all flowing right to U.S. So we really need these Chinese to go work for $350 an hour to keep our profit margins where they're at. So, you know, the Trump administration could sit there and say, oh, this is going to be good for the US in the long run. We're going to move our jobs to Mexico and this and that. Sure, maybe, but it's not going to happen this week. So right now they really need Fox, you know, added Google News Alert for Foxconn. And soon as Foxconn's getting back to work, that's when I'll likely start buying puts on the TLT for downside protection. Now, again, we don't see the ramifications of shutting down China probably for months from now in terms of how much of a drag that will be on the global GDP. And we don't know how long South Korea is going to go into a lockdown, or Taiwan, or any other country for that matter. So trying to judge what the impact is going to be of, you know, what do we care about, profits or human lives? And I think clearly they're more concerned about profits than human lives at this point, until it just gets out of control and creates chaos. And so we hadn't seen a whole lot of chaos outside of China last week, but over the weekend, we saw the outbreak go just completely crazy in Iran with lots of deaths, which is another opaque, controlled internet. But in South Korea, massive spike in cases, and in Italy, of all places. So,
Hey, Jason, I think that the priority of care for the CCP is order and control first, profit second, human lives third.
good
And
point.
when human lives start jeopardizing order and control, then they start caring more, you know, not because of the human lives, but because of the potential to lose control and order.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, you don't build 19 hospitals in a single city for 2,500 deaths. It just, it doesn't add up. All right, guys. Any last questions?
No, but I'm gonna make a comment. You know me. When you were saying earlier about until which time the administration says something negative about Xi, my suspicion, and I'm sure you feel the same, is not gonna be until after the Democrats come up with an opponent.
Right. Imagine they put Bloomberg in there. That would be the perfect time to start bashing China.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, this is all about strategic.
But I don't know if Bernie can, or if Bloomberg can beat Bernie. Do you hear he's going to release? So Bloomberg has 63 NDAs, non-disclosure agreements out there.
63. Are we sure about that?
That's what, you know, and they're comparing it to Trump with 40. And so in the Democratic debate, they just totally bent him over that single point. So the next day he came out and he said, well, you know what? There's 3 women that I'm going to allow off of the NDA. 3 out of 60. Yeah. So I don't. He's making grounds. He's flying up the polls. He's probably one of the most powerful connected people in the world. He's buddies with Jeff Bezos. So yeah, he's a very important person to follow, even without him running for president.
It's scary. You know, I mean, we've got very separate countries all in one here, and it's
yeah, his index products are funneling billions into China. He has tons of terminals sold in China.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if Bloomberg can take over the Democratic nominee, that might push the timeline up on seeing that geopolitical pressure against China. But if Bernie gets in there, Bernie's anti-China just as much as Trump. So that could delay it till after the election. I think we'd see it
Who
different.
knows? Yeah. Yet to be determined. I'm parking all my opinions on all this stuff. I just, I'm the, I'm not a big, it's not that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but when something that doesn't make sense, there's a reason, and it usually winds up coming up that,
You just say you're not a conspiracy theorist, Karen. I don't know.
I'm not but I always know when something, when it doesn't smell right, it doesn't smell right. It doesn't pass that all in all smell test. You got to go, wait a minute, hold on. And you think of everybody's objectives, which is what you're doing, right? You think, okay, it's exactly what you were just talking about. Whose objective is this? Whose objective is that? Right. And who was it that just said the same thing? The third thing down on the priority list is human lives, of course. They really don't care. So, they could sound like they care. They don't care. It's really interesting. I mean, everything is leveraged for whatever the next objective is, which is always about power and money, period. So.
Yep.
So you call me the conspiracy theorist. I don't know. I'm just a realist, I think.
Hey, Jason, I'd like to make a comment too.
Please.
I just wanted to thank you. I mean, the market's down 1,000 points. And
Yeah.
my account is up, and I appreciate it.
Oh,
Yay.
thank you, Ron. I appreciate
Me
your
too.
kind comments.
Yep.
Nice, guys. We love it.
Scotty had a nice comment. Jason, Dean, thank you for the recap. Good to feel secure in our positions amid the chaos. Dee Dee is a conspiracist, which I know she loves it. I always joke with Dean and Ryan, these our clients like a good conspiracy and a bullish bet with the
That's
safety
right.
with the safety net underneath us, because we all know the market rarely crashes. So our clients like a good conspiracy and a bullish bet with the
That's
safety
right.
We're getting a reverb. Funny. Yeah,
That's crazy.
we're very well protected, guys. So rest assured, we're extremely protected. We're positioned much more intelligently than 99% of your peers. You're trading just like a pro hedge fund trader right now.
Very much appreciated.
It's our pleasure.
Keep up the
right.
good work.
Beautiful
Yeah.
comments, guys. Thank you all so much. We work our tails off for y'all, and just
I'm
so
sorry.
fun to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say a buddy of mine who's been kind of doing his own thing, and he's just, all he does is go long, and he's been making very, very good money for the last couple of years. He took a beating today. He lost.
It's easy
a
to make
bunch.
money in an up market. Come on. That's crazy. Of course he's going to do well in an up market, sillies. And that's what you can tell him. Say good luck. You have to know when to step aside sometimes, or get the puts. That's what these people do. And so just say, yeah, no problem. Good luck. Good luck to you. Going along. I mean, that's just the silliness of it all, isn't it? I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think today he's starting to willing to be listened. He's starting
There you
to
go.
willing to listen to me.
Nice. Mark, how much do you have invested behind us now?
I've got 600, I think.
Okay, awesome. Very nice. I love it. Yep. And it's just so fun, right? So I have a big chunk in it as well. And it's so cool to see days like this. You look over at your account and you're going, how is it going up? Well,
let's
how, right?
let's get Murray on there. Murray, you got your mic, buddy? He was ready to fire his other advisor, who uses the death cross for his signals, which is hilarious. Man, I learned that when I was 25. They're still. You got your mic out there, Murray? Would love to hear from you, bud.
Now it's on. Yeah, no, I think today again proves the system that you provide us. Did it come through?
There we go.
Hello, hello.
Now
yeah, we have the audio now.
Okay, I was saying today proves the system that I've been in with you since what is it, June or July? July, I think it is. And it really proves that other people's systems don't work in these kind of changing situations.
Ooh, SPY's tanking right now. If it goes below
Yes.
320, oh my.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to my my put option from Friday.
Hey, saved $1.20. That's good.
Yeah, another thing is my mother has an account at UBS with a professional money manager, and he only works with select clients, and so he's one of the guys who's doing a very good, well diversified portfolio, and because she's older, we said hey, we want low risk, and so he's got a really good mix of stocks and bonds, and he's been doing really quite well. And I look at it today, and she's down 1%. Even though the market's down 3%. So he's done a good job of reducing her risk, but I think he could do a better job based on what I'm seeing y'all do.
Yeah, well, keeping it simple, and it's a lot easier to manage. I would estimate we have maybe 50 million following us.
Easy.
Maybe
Probably more now. Okay. Last time I did the numbers.
Yeah, so a lot easier to manage that kind of capital versus billions, but yeah, at least we're trading the liquid products, so our system could support a lot more easily.
I think your system could support a couple billion.
Easy, yeah, for sure.
1 or 2 billion. I
Easy.
think that would not be a problem.
Yeah. Yep, exactly, Mark. It's just so liquid, and we're only going to put you guys in a top 200 most liquid position too. It's just, and it's the right structure for you guys, right? And we want to have similar results, and it's the best way to do it. Just trade the most liquid stuff out there.
Boy, I can't believe that SPY is cratering on us. That's crazy. Well, good thing
Yeah.
for TLT, huh? 157 all-time high on TLT.
Yep. Yep, definitely interesting. But whew, gosh, are we getting a good buying opportunity for SPY too? Holy moly. Nice. And Mark, what are you up for the month on, or what are you up for the day in your account? You have a little more than me, just out of curiosity, seeing where you are.
He's up a bit more because he's been taking the trades and doubling the puts.
Yeah, forgot to unmute. I'm up 7,000 on the day, and then I had another 10, but I already sold some of the other 10. So I should have gotten like 8. Instead, I bought 20. And but I did sell 10 of those because I figured, hey, it popped, it's starting to retrace. I'll just go ahead and capture that, and that would be up even more. So that was another 5 on that locked in.
Awesome, Mark. Yeah, it's just it's so cool, right? Because most U.S. investors, I mean, probably the average person listening to us that's not a member right now probably took, I'd say probably a $10,000-$20,000 haircut, and then it's so nice to have you talk about it. We're literally in the worst sell-off we've had in the past year, and just so cool to hear that portfolio is doing your job, and it's protected your money, and it's growing it in literally the biggest crash of 2020. So
yeah,
cool.
then on top of that, I bought a bunch of nugget contracts, the NUGT.
Yeah.
So those kicked ass today too.
Nice, Mark.
On top of that.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, take a look, Mark, at the Gilead calls too. That's something I jumped in when I saw some hedge funds do some single position multi-million-dollar bets. But WHO basically just said this morning that they have the only viable potential fix, or at least a deterring product for Corona. So take a look at that. See, they were buying all the way into the 80 strikes for March.
I should have done that
they jumped a
last
lot.
week. It's very expensive now.
Yeah, I haven't looked at my calls yet. Let's see. Yeah,
they jumped a lot today. They're down from the open, but they gapped up huge, and they're still gapped up.
Yeah, I was gonna buy the 70 calls. I'm so mad I didn't do it, but
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Yeah. Wow. And you guys, I just checked because I'm still holding my put. I didn't let go of it yet, right? I just added a new protection for Wednesday. I'm up 2,600% on it now on the put option.
Take some off, man.
I don't know, Karen. I
You
think
gonna
they're
let
gonna
it
run
run?
it down into the end of the day. I'm keeping it until they until probably a minute before.
Tell it to
Okay.
Dean's buying sushi for lunch this Friday.
Right? Yes, sir. Happy to. Nice, guys. All right. So Murray, how much capital are you going to move over after you got rid of the financial advisor?
I'm losing the contact here. Wait a minute. What happened to my screen?
Yeah, Murray, it sounds like you have not a very good internet connection.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little spotty at times, Murray. But go for it.
Okay, I'm out of town. No, I was. It'll be several 100,000 that I'll be moving over to join the progress that you provided. And as I said, today is the real test of why the system is the way to go. Hello.
Very cool. Awesome, Murray. Very cool. Very, very cool. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. And Mike, I see you have your hand up. What question do you have, bud? Go ahead. Feel free to unmute your microphone and jump in. And I see Mark B has a question as well. So go ahead and jump in, Mark. Feel free to ask away.
First of all, Dean, it's Mark B. Thanks for that tip about what you're doing today. I hadn't thought of that. And secondly, it's for either of you, I guess. Being we're not trading EM till later in the week, what do you think about buying some additional puts on EM lower than the 42 that we're at right now? Like at
Jason,
39 or something.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea at all.
Okay.
But I would tend to prefer to buy puts when volatility is low and not high.
Okay.
But that's always a caveat that, hey, if this doesn't rebound it, well, it's not going to go lower anyway. So the timing is always best to do the trade the day of. So if you ever feel like you want to put a little more risk on, Mark's really kind of alluded to the best way to do that. He's waiting till I issue trades and he's listening to my commentary for any extra trading ideas. And he's putting those trades on when it's timely. So he's not trying to react to what just worked and kind of join the bandwagon late. And you can see that the way he trades is tends to be a lot like I am in that he wants to buy things at a discount and not when everybody else is doing it. So in general, I would try to be, if you want extra, if you got cash laying around, is to buy those trades with the extra cash, or if you want to put on more risk than I have in the trade, is do it when the trade comes out, and now you're not going to have to worry about timing.
Okay, thank you.
Because we're already up, 100+% on the emerging market trade right now.
Yep. It's climbing too, Jay. It's pushing 150.
Wow. Yeah. So
excellent trade.
So even though it's not a bad idea, if you did follow our boot camp module, you'll realize that when volatility goes up, the relative value of options gets expensive. So now it's not a value play, it's a momentum play. And so now not only do you need it to accelerate more than it already has, and this is, like Dean said, the biggest sell-off we've seen in 14 months, really.
Yeah, no, this is the biggest single day sell-off we've had in over a year.
So, yeah, probably best bet's to buy the SPY and buy that put for protection, but maybe wait till Wednesday.
Jason, interesting stat today too. This is actually the 13th largest gap down in the SPY ETF's history. So yeah, it's interesting, but man, this is could find opportunity for SPY. Just thinking about pulling some money out of the woodwork here.
But yeah, we'd still rather see the volatility die down so you could buy a cheaper put when we do buy the SPY. Because today we had to pay $1.20 for that darn put. Now, thank goodness we did. Can you imagine if we hadn't bought that put right now?
Yeah, mine was a little pricier than that. Thank you very much. It jumped so much immediately right
Oh,
after
no.
it came.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're going to see the banks freak out and try to gap as long as they can. Now, if they think that it's just too much selling, that they're just going to step aside, let the selling get out of the way, and then come in. That's a calculation they'll make. But if they think they can afford to do it, they'll use the futures market to gap the price dramatically higher and try to stabilize the markets here. Now, if they think there's just too much overwhelming support or selling, then yeah, they just step out of the way, let the selling viciously get out of the system, and then they'll start to try to save the market. Because, BlackRock and Vanguard control, I think it's something like 80% of all the ETFs, the shares that have been sold. They can't sell those. There's no way they can get out. They could maybe take a little off the top, but at the end of the day, they need this to all come right back up. So yeah, the uber rich, I listened to a crazy conspiracy. I listened to all kinds of crazy conspiracies to try to get any kind of idea what the heck's going on here. But yeah, I mean, if we were to be a little more sinister and think that they were trying to orchestrate a crash, well, then you let the super rich sell at the top, let this thing tank 50% and then buy it back and try to rebound it like they did in the 2008 crisis. And so, without insider knowledge, we won't know what is that happening right now. But if we buy that put, we can offset a huge percentage of the drawdown on the SPY and then be positioned for it to shoot back up. So that's really my goal right now. Now, for me to want to bet down on the SPY, again, I want to see Apple primarily can't create iPhones.
Right.
If Apple can't create iPhones, the whole world's going to freak out.
Hey, Jason, I was just looking too. Yang is up right at 12% for the buy and holders too, over since last Thursday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Getting some amazing alpha there. It's very nice. All right, guys. Let's see here. Vlad, do you have any questions here, bud? Sue, would love to help you understand why we're making money literally as the market sells off in the biggest sell-off we've had in over a year. But yeah, let's see who else is out there. Gary, any questions? Let's see here. We got a 905 number. Any questions on how we're outperforming the market here? Just handsomely here, folks. Literally in the worst sell-off day in 2020.
What did the SPY open 2020 at, Dean?
We went just negative last time I looked. Let me take a look real quick. So let's see here. Last closing print of 2019 was, let me see here, right at 321.94. So it's just a hair above it, and man, have we outperformed that.
Nice.
Just the general, buy and hold, just being long the market. So yeah, it's just barely over being positive for the year, which probably won't be the case by the end of today.
And without, having to risk it all just to get there.
Yep, exactly. Sleep like a baby. Okay, let's see here. All right, guys, and anyone, if you're not on the pro system yet, and if you just have the SPY, please let me know, guys. Be more than happy to get you upgraded. Typically in cycles like this, we'll get quite a few upgrade calls, but just make sure to reach out. We try to limit it to 10 people at a time that we let into the program per week. just to make sure we can give white glove customer service to everyone. So definitely reach out today. Let me know. I think the 10 spots will go incredibly quick this week. So don't delay, but don't miss out too. Okay, guys. Let's see here. Any other questions out there at all? Yeah, wow. Buy and hold's already over 4% for the year. Amazing. That'll beat the market by a little bit, huh? And typically we're not trying to, guys, but just kind of shows you when things get wild, this is just the smartest thing you can do. All right, guys. Okay. Looks like we have some shy people on here, but folks, feel free to go ahead and reach out to me. I'm going to go ahead and post the link to book a call with me right now. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to drop that in. I'm also going to drop in a couple testimonials, guys, that our clients have sent us to review. And please just go ahead and book your time. But feel free to call me if you do have any questions. I do have a 35-minute gap before my next phone call. So, and I'm going to go ahead and just post in my phone number. And it's 505-322-7515. Give me a call, folks. Be happy to help you out, answer any questions you may have, and get your capital protected and put it to work in the safest manner possible.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, team. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely,
Should we go
Jason.
ahead and wrap this one up?
All right, bud. Thanks for keeping us safe. Appreciate it.